Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Daily Standup. I want to show you all real quick what project template I picked for my front end and my back end project. So if we go to Visual Studio and we go New Project, you can see that I'm using this web application model view controller template here. So if we could continue on that, we're going to make a new project, and I'm just going to kind of walk you through a couple steps. So .NET 7, no authentication. I always check this, do not use top level statements. I don't know why. I'm just kind of used to the old way. I prefer to see the usings and the namespaces. We're going to configure HTTPS, continue, and we're going to do this, I don't know, YouTube test project as the project name, and we're going to create. So if we create that, we're going to get this blank project. But yeah, so if you have this up and running, you can see that this is just like your standard out of the box .NET web application. You got your tabs, privacy, everything like that. Okay, so next thing I wanted to show is once you have a project up and running, if you go ahead and right click the project, if you go down to hit add and you hit add Docker support, you can actually add a Docker file just like that, and it scaffolds it all out for you for your specific application. And you can see on the top here too, it actually also adds a Docker compose.yaml, so it will run it by default with Docker compose. And that's nice because that'll allow us to wire up additional services that also need to be started with our Docker when our project starts. So I don't know, let me open another instance. New instance. I want to show you my Docker file for the two-stroke engine project that we've been seeing on this channel. So if we go to the Docker compose file for that project, you can see that this is the standard one that I just scaffolded, but also I have one for RabbitMQ. So what I'm saying is that when I do Docker compose up or run on Visual Studio, it'll start this service first, and then it'll start the RabbitMQ server, which honestly, I don't know if that might be false. I don't know if that starts first, but you can put like a depends on to make it start after those things, but it'll start also a RabbitMQ container. You specify the image and then give it a container name and the ports that it'll run on. And then you have to specify what network that RabbitMQ container will be operating in. So that's kind of how that works. But again, I didn't write any code. And if we go ahead and stop this project here, you can see that by default now we're going to run it with Docker Compose, and we start up that. It'll start your container, and it'll start the application on the. It might take a little bit just because Docker has to create the image, build your container, and then actually start it on your port that's listening. So it gave us port 55397. So if I go over to Docker Desktop, I should see that new service running, and you can see here. So this is a list of all the containers I have, and you can see the new one right there I just made for YouTube test project. So I can actually, stop it from here. So if I stop that container from Docker Desktop and then I refresh, it's going to say Safari can't connect to the server, is because my container's down. So that's kind of how easy it really is to add Docker support into a .NET application. Obviously you want to do this early on, because after a while it might be harder depending on what things you're depending on. Like if you have a database, you have external services, RabbitMQ or anything like that. So this is a decision that you probably should make sooner than later, but this is a super easy way to make your application containerized, and obviously it's a way you don't have to write any of it yourself. So this just creates this is a really good framework for learning Docker, because so much of it is done for you that it gets you your foot in the door for learning how to work with Docker images and all that stuff. And honestly, I'm not like super up on like Docker that much. Like I know the basics and how to work with it and everything, but Docker is a huge topic. They're just containers are a really, really complicated and big topic. And honestly, I'm trying to, I study them, but it's just like one of those things that you don't, Docker is like, it's like once you get the file right, like the Docker file correct and the Docker Compose file right, you don't really have to go back and touch it. So it's like you need to know it when you're making it, but like once you do, I feel like you just forget so much of like the stuff that goes along with it. But yeah, that's literally all I wanted to show in this one. Just how easy it is to do that. So let me know if you have any questions or if you have any other ways to do this. But again, this is in Visual Studio for Mac. And yeah, I'll see you on the next one.